My name is Emily, and until a year ago, I thought my parents loved me. Or at least, I thought they cared about me enough to treat me fairly. Looking back, I don't know if I was just naive or if I had been ignoring the signs my whole life. Because if I had been paying attention, I would have seen it. Jessica was always their favorite. She was the golden child, the one who could do no wrong. The one whose happiness was more important than anyone else's. And I was the afterthought, the younger sister who was supposed to be understanding, to be okay with getting less, to be fine with being put second. And for a long time, I was. I grew up in Jessica's shadow. When she wanted something, she got it. I wasn't even jealous. I had learned early on that this was just the way things were. If I asked for something, I usually got a maybe, or we'll see. If she asked, it was an automatic yes. But I never thought they would take something that was mine. My college fund had been set up when I was young. I don't remember the details, just that my grandparents had left some money for my education, and my parents had always reassured me that when the time came, I wouldn't have to worry. It's not a fortune, my dad had told me when I was in high school, but it's enough to get you through. I had never questioned it. Never thought to check how much was actually there. Never worried about it at all. And then, one evening, everything changed. I remember that night so clearly. I was sitting at the dinner table, going over some last-minute paperwork for my college applications. My acceptance letters had already come in, and I was trying to decide which school to choose. It was an exciting kind of stress, the kind that felt like the beginning of something big. My parents were in the kitchen, talking in hushed voices. I wasn't paying attention at first, too focused on my laptop screen. But then I heard my sister's name. Jessica had gotten engaged a few months earlier, and the wedding planning had been in full swing. Every conversation in our house revolved around color schemes, catering, venues, and guest lists. It was exhausting. At first, I thought they were just talking about more wedding details. But something in my mom's tone made me stop typing. I wasn't sure why, but I had the sudden urge to listen. Completely covered, she was saying. The venue alone was nearly $25,000. My dad sighed. It's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. I know, she said, and I want it to be perfect for her. She deserves the best. There was a pause. Then my dad's voice, quieter this time. You took care of the rest, right? My mom hesitated. It's done. What about Emily? My stomach twisted at the sound of my name. She'll be fine, my mom said, her voice light, almost dismissive. She can take out loans. I froze. For a second, I thought I had misheard. Loans? I turned in my seat, heart pounding as I stared at them. What are you talking about? They both looked up, surprised. I hadn't meant to say it so loudly, but the words had come out sharp, demanding. My mom gave me a small smile, like she was trying to reassure a child. Oh, sweetheart, don't worry about it. I pushed my chair back, standing up. Don't worry about what? My dad let out a heavy sigh. Emily, sit down. I didn't. Instead, I took a step closer, my mind racing. What did you mean when you said I could take out loans? My mom and dad exchanged a look, and I could tell they were deciding how much to tell me, how much they could get away with. I felt sick. Finally, my mom let out a small sigh, like this was a conversation she really didn't want to have. We had to move some things around, she said, to make sure everything was covered for the wedding. I stared at her. What things? I asked, even though I already knew. She hesitated again. Then, finally, in the same casual tone someone might use to tell you they had run out of milk, she said, we used your college fund. My ears started ringing. I opened my mouth, but no sound came out. I looked at my dad, hoping, praying that he would say something, that he would tell me she was wrong. He didn't. Instead, he just sighed again, rubbing his temples like I was the one being difficult. Emily, don't overreact. Overreact. I let out a short, bitter laugh. You used my college fund for Jessica's wedding. And you think I'm overreacting? My mom frowned, looking genuinely confused. Well, yes. You can always take out loans, Emily. College isn't going anywhere. I gripped the edge of the table. That money was supposed to be for my education. And you'll still get an education, she said patiently, like I was a stubborn child. Plenty of people take out student loans. It's normal. I could feel my hands shaking. It was my money. It was family money, my dad corrected. And we had to make a choice. I shook my head, trying to process this. A choice? Between my future and a party? Emily, my mom sighed, exasperated now. It's not just a party. It's Jessica's wedding. It's one of the most important days of her life. We couldn't just give her a half-hearted celebration. I felt like I was going to throw up. All my life, I had known that Jessica was their favorite. But this was something else. This was them telling me, in no uncertain terms, that her one day mattered more than my entire future. I swallowed, trying to keep my voice steady. And you weren't even going to tell me? We were going to sit you down and explain, my dad said, like that made it better. We just hadn't gotten around to it yet. I clenched my jaw. Jessica chose that moment to walk into the kitchen, humming to herself. She stopped when she saw me, her eyes flicking between me and our parents. What's going on? I turned to look at her, and suddenly, the anger inside me had a direction. You knew, didn't you? I asked, my voice dangerously quiet. Jessica blinked. Knew what? That they were using my college fund to pay for your wedding. She hesitated, just for a second. Then she shrugged. Mom and Dad said it was fine. They said you'd be okay. My whole body went cold. She didn't even care. I had always thought of Jessica as selfish, but I never thought she would be this selfish. You didn't even think to ask me? I whispered. Didn't think to see if I was okay with it? She frowned. Emily, why are you making such a big deal out of this? I laughed. I actually laughed. Because it is a big deal, I snapped. That money was for my future. And I gestured wildly, my voice rising, took it. Jessica rolled her eyes. Oh my God. Are you really going to throw a tantrum over this? I felt my heart shatter. I looked at my parents. And you're really okay with this? My mom gave me a small, condescending smile. Sweetheart, you'll understand when you're older. I stared at them, my chest rising and falling with uneven breaths. Then, without another word, I turned and walked out the door. I don't remember getting into my car. I don't remember turning the key in the ignition or backing out of the driveway. All I remember is the way my hands trembled on the steering wheel, the way my vision blurred as I tried to blink back the tears. I drove without thinking. My mind kept replaying the conversation over and over, each word slicing deeper. You'll understand when you're older. Why are you making such a big deal? It was family money. I pulled into an empty parking lot and just sat there. For the first time in my life, I felt truly alone. My parents had chosen Jessica. Again. But this time, they hadn't just favored her. They had taken from me. Taken something that was supposed to be mine, something I had counted on. And they hadn't even cared enough to tell me. I let my head fall against the steering wheel, my breath shaky. This wasn't just about the money. It was about what it meant. They didn't value me. They didn't care about my future. They didn't even see me as important enough to deserve a conversation before they made their decision. I don't know how long I sat there, but eventually, my phone buzzed. I wiped my face and looked at the screen. Jessica texted, "Are you seriously still mad? You're being dramatic." I stared at the message. Then, slowly, I turned my phone off and set it down. I had a decision to make. I could go back home. I could cry. I could beg them to reconsider, though I knew it wouldn't change anything. Or I could accept the truth. I could stop expecting them to be different. I could stop waiting for them to see me the way I had always wanted them to. And I could walk away. It wasn't an easy decision. But in that moment, sitting alone in my car with the weight of betrayal pressing down on me, I made a choice. I was going to take care of myself. I didn't go back home that night. Instead, I went to a friend's house, someone who had always been there for me in ways my own family never had. She didn't ask too many questions, just let me crash on her couch and gave me a blanket. The next morning, I started looking for jobs. I wasn't going to college anymore, at least not right away. I had no money for it, and I sure as hell wasn't about to put myself in debt while my sister waltzed into a fairy tale wedding funded by what was supposed to be my future. So I worked. At first, it was just a basic job at a coffee shop. Early shifts, long hours, aching feet. But I wasn't just working for a paycheck. I was working with a purpose. Every spare moment, I was learning. I spent my nights researching, watching videos, taking notes. I stumbled into the world of online business, side hustles, passive income. And for the first time, I felt hopeful. I started a small business online. At first, it barely made anything, just a couple of dollars here and there. But I kept at it. While Jessica was off planning her wedding, I was building something real. By the time her wedding day arrived, I wasn't there. I wasn't invited. Not that I would have gone anyway. They never called to ask where I was, never sent a message to check in. It was like I had just stopped existing to them. And honestly, that was fine. Because while they were celebrating Jessica's big day, I was grinding. I was putting in the work. And by the end of that first year, I had done what I never thought possible. I had made $300,000. 1 year later, I was sitting in my apartment, when my phone rang. It was a number I didn't recognize, but something told me to answer. I pressed the button and lifted it to my ear. Hello. There was a pause. Then Emily. I knew that voice. It was my mother. I leaned back in my chair, crossing my legs. Wow. Didn't expect to hear from you. There was an awkward chuckle. Well, sweetheart, it's been a while. How have you been? I smiled to myself. Oh, just making a living. Another pause. That's good, she said quickly. That's really good. I waited. I could feel it coming. Well, she continued, her voice suddenly much softer. We were actually hoping we could talk to you about something. I raised an eyebrow. Oh, yes, she said, clearing her throat. You see, things have been a little difficult for us financially lately. There it was. I almost laughed. Oh, I said again, keeping my voice neutral. What happened? Well, she hesitated. We had to take out some loans for Jessica's wedding, and things haven't exactly been easy. Your father and I were just wondering if you might be able to help out a little. Just until you get back on your feet? I finished for her. My voice was calm, but inside, I felt a slow, burning amusement. There was a pause. Yes, she said, a little too quickly. Just a little help. As a family. Family. The word felt foreign coming from her. I leaned back in my chair, twirling a pin between my fingers. Just curious, I said, keeping my tone casual. But why me? Another pause. I could almost hear the gears turning in her head. Well, she finally said, we know you've been doing well for yourself. I let that sit between us for a moment. So they knew. They had ignored me for a year. No calls, no texts, not even a passing, how have you been? But now, suddenly, when they were struggling, they remembered I existed. I could picture it so clearly, Jessica whining about money, my parents wringing their hands, then someone saying, wait a minute, doesn't Emily have money now? I wanted to laugh. Instead, I tilted my head, my voice still light. I thought you said I could always take out loans? Silence. I waited. Then my mother let out a nervous chuckle. Oh, sweetheart, that was different. Was it? I asked, my voice sharp now. Well, yes, she said, as if it were obvious. You were young. You had time to figure things out. We just thought. No, I interrupted, my patience thinning. You didn't think. Not about me, anyway. There was a shift in her tone, a little more forceful now. Emily, don't be like this. We are still your parents. After everything we've done for you, this is how you repay us. I laughed. I actually laughed. Everything you've done for me? I repeated, incredulous. You stole my college fund. You didn't even tell me about it. I had to find out like an afterthought. You didn't care about how it would affect me. You didn't even bother to check on me after I left. And now that you need money, I'm suddenly your daughter again. That's not fair, she said sharply. Fair. I shot back. Fair would have been giving me a choice. Fair would have been at least acknowledging what you did instead of brushing it off. But you didn't, because you didn't care. And now you expect me to care about your problems? She scoffed, as if I was being ridiculous. Emily, we are your family. We took care of you for years, gave you a roof over your head. And now, when we need you, you're just going to turn your back on us. Ah, there it was. The guilt trip. Classic. I exhaled slowly. I don't owe you anything. The words came out quiet. Firm. Final. Excuse me, she said, her voice sharp with disbelief. I don't owe you anything, I repeated, my voice steady. You made your choice. You chose Jessica. You chose her wedding over my future. You told me to take out loans if I wanted to go to college. So, why don't you do the same? There was a sharp inhale on the other end of the line. Then a how dare you? Bingo. My mother's voice had lost all its fake sweetness. Now, she sounded like what she truly was, angry, entitled, desperate. After everything we've done for you, you're just going to let us struggle? I felt a smile tug at my lips. Yep. You ungrateful little, I hung up. And for the first time in a long, long time, I felt free. But I should have expected what happened next. A week after that phone call, I was enjoying a quiet Saturday morning in my apartment, sipping coffee and scrolling through my phone, when I heard a knock at the door. At first, I thought it was a package delivery or maybe a neighbor. But when I checked the peephole, my stomach twisted. Standing outside were my parents. And behind them, arms crossed and looking annoyed, was Jessica. I took a deep breath, schooling my features into something neutral before unlocking the door and opening it just a crack. Emily, my mother said, her voice laced with false warmth. Sweetheart, we just wanted to talk. I raised an eyebrow. Really? Because last time we talked, you called me ungrateful and hung up on me. My father cleared his throat, shifting uncomfortably. We were upset, he muttered, avoiding my gaze. Jessica scoffed, arms still crossed. Yeah, well, you were being a total bee. I shut the door in their faces. The knock came again. Harder this time. Emily, my mother snapped. Don't you dare. I opened the door again, leaning against the frame. If you're just here to insult me, you can turn right back around. My mother took a deep breath, forcing a tight-lipped smile. We're not here to fight. We just want to have a conversation. face to face. Like a family. A family. Now they wanted to act like we were one. I folded my arms. Fine. Say what you need to say. They exchanged glances before my father spoke. Emily, we're struggling, he said, as if that wasn't already clear. Things have been tough, and, well, we could really use your help. I tilted my head. That's funny, because a year ago, when I was struggling, you told me I could just take out loans. Jessica groaned. Oh my God, are you still on about that? I smiled sweetly. You mean the part where my entire future was stolen from me so you could have a Pinterest wedding? Yeah, Jess. I am still on about that. Her face turned red. You're being ridiculous. You're rich now, aren't you? It's not like you even needed college. Why does it even matter anymore? I let out a low laugh. Wow, you really don't get it, do you? I shook my head, then turned to my parents. You know, I remember when I begged you not to touch my college fund. You shrugged and said I'd be fine. You told me I'd figure it out. My mother stiffened. Emily, that's not. I cut her off, mimicking her tone from that day. Loans exist for a reason. A little struggle builds character. You're young, you'll bounce back. Their faces dropped. I watched them squirm for a second before continuing, my voice dripping with mock concern. So why don't you take out loans? Why don't you build some character? Struggle a little. You're not too old to bounce back, right? Jessica's face twisted in rage. That's not fair. I smirked. Oh, so now you care about fairness? My father sighed heavily. Emily, we are your family. Families help each other. I let that sink in for a moment. Then, very calmly, I said, you weren't my family when you stole my future. You weren't my family when you didn't invite me to the wedding. You weren't my family when you ignored me for a year. You only remembered I was family when you needed money. Silence. Jessica clenched her fists. God, you're such a selfish brat. I shrugged. Maybe, but at least I can afford to be. That was it. That was the final straw. My mother's face twisted in rage, and my father muttered something under his breath, but I didn't care. I stepped back inside and, without another word, I shut the door in their faces. And this time, I didn't open it again. Another year passed. I didn't hear from them again. Not directly, at least. I'd get the occasional passive-aggressive text from distant relatives. Things like, family is forever, Emily, or you'll regret turning your back on the people who raised you. I ignored them, because while they were busy wallowing in self-pity, I was thriving. My business exploded. What started as a side hustle became a full-fledged empire. By the time I turned 23, I wasn't just comfortable, I was a millionaire. And my family? Oh, they were drowning. It wasn't just the debts. Jessica's marriage, the one they destroyed my future to fund, fell apart within a year. Turns out, the perfect wedding doesn't guarantee a perfect marriage. She moved back home, broke, bitter, and angry at the world. My parents were worse off than ever. My dad's job cut his hours. My mom's little side business never took off. And with the economy the way it was, they were struggling to keep the house. And still, I heard nothing from them. Until one day, I got a text. Mom texted, Emily, please call me. It's important. I stared at the message for a long moment. Then, out of pure curiosity, I called. She picked up on the first ring. Emily, she breathed, like she'd just been rescued from a shipwreck. Oh, sweetheart. I cut her off. What do you want? A pause. Then, the sob story started. How they were behind on the mortgage. How the bills were piling up. How the stress was tearing the family apart. And then, the real reason she called. Emily, she said, her voice trembling, we need your help. I smiled. Oh, what kind of help? She hesitated, like she was debating whether to say it outright or dance around it. Finally, she swallowed her pride. Financial help, she admitted. Just something to get us back on our feet. I almost laughed. The sheer audacity. I leaned back in my chair, twirling a pin between my fingers. So, let me get this straight, I said slowly. You stole my future. You forced me to struggle. You told me to just take out loans. And now, you want a handout. It's not like that, she said quickly. Emily, we're family. Oh, you mean like how I was family when you stole my college fund? Or when you didn't invite me to the wedding? Or when you ignored me for a year? Silence. I let it stretch for a moment before sighing dramatically. Well, Mom, I said, loans exist for a reason. Her breath hitched. A little struggle builds character, I continued. You're not too old to bounce back, right? She started crying. I let her. When she finally stammered out, I don't know what we're going to do. I just smiled and said, you'll figure it out. And then, I hung up. I haven't spoken to them since. As I sat there, staring at my phone screen, I couldn't help but wonder, was I being cruel? Let me know in the comments.